Don't let your AC system get knocked out by the heat this upcoming summer. Call KS Services and let our team come take a look. We repair and install all makes and models. We even offer a free no-hassle quote and second opinion, so give us a call today. With our flexible financing, you can literally pick your payment. We may even be able to help you knock down that utility bill a bit.
KS Heating and Air, the team ensuring your comfort.
This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, June the 10th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks so much for tuning in. Our satellite image this morning is kind of reminiscent of yesterday. That is, we have some scattered clouds about, all thanks to the convection yesterday and those clouds left over from the storms that did occur yesterday. Our surface pattern hasn't changed much. The westerly is basically well to our north, and a large high-pressure system over the southwest Atlantic nosing across the southeastern U.S. It is strong enough, though, that we're not getting direct southerly flow of moisture into the southeast, but we do remain somewhat soupy with a humid air mass. At 500 millibars, roughly around 20,000 feet there, we see this little weakness that continues over the southeastern U.S., and that is helping to add to the daily heating and producing some scattered showers around the area. Fortunately, though temperatures reached the lower 90s yesterday, we basically dropped back to around 70 degrees overnight and into the early morning hours. A little cooler there in the northeast. That 63 sounds pretty nice up there at Fort Payne. Radar is pretty clear, but we do have a large cluster of storms in the vicinity of Nashville moving across Tennessee. Watch warning map, very interesting here. You see some green areas there in northern Illinois and the mid-Atlantic states. Those are flash flood watches. You see the reds over the southern Rockies, and that's high fire danger. But notice in the northern part of the Rockies, the cyans or the blues there, those are frost advisories. The purples you see up in parts of Idaho and Montana are winter weather advisories. So, wow, even though it's coming up on the middle of June, approaching the middle of June, they're still dealing with winter weather. QPF-wise, it's kind of like we've been saying, and kind of a broken record here during the summer. Forecasting on the order of about an inch for most locations, but not every location will get that amount. The thunderstorms that fired in Jefferson County yesterday, I noted produced 1.18 inches in Bessemer, but at my house where they propagated past me, they basically produced about a third of an inch. The WPC folks have slight risk for excessive precipitation along that frontal boundary that stretches from the mid-Atlantic states back into Iowa, as well as a slight risk over over the Dakotas. And Storm Prediction Center basically has a slight risk over the Dakotas for severe storms and a marginal risk that stretches along that front, as well as a marginal risk out in West Texas and western Oklahoma. Day 2, we see the slight risk in Iowa, Missouri, and eastern Kansas primarily, plus the marginal risk extending down into the Carolinas, and then a little bit more cellular on the day 3 with a slight risk over parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle, southwest Kansas, as well as southeastern Colorado. And the tropics in the Atlantic remain somewhat quiet. We do have a little cloudiness over the western Caribbean, but the Pacific is a little bit noisier. We have Aletta, which was a hurricane yesterday, but Aletta is forecast to remain at sea and basically dissipate over the next 48 to 72 hours. And then follow that, we did have Bud form. Bud is a tropical storm this morning, but forecast by Monday to become a hurricane and then dissipate back to a tropical storm as it could approach Baja California. All right, the 06Z GFS model run this morning, and there we have our surface pattern for this Sunday and showing showers. The weakness at 500 millibars is still there. It's kind of hard to see because it is just that. It's just a kind of a weakness in the upper air pattern. But by Monday, the weakness is a little bit more visible, and we've got this little trough coming out of Pennsylvania there. But still, the air mass doesn't change over our area, so we stay in the soup and we stay showery. The weakness a little more visible there on Tuesday, as the ridge to our west begins to kind of push it and condense it a little bit, but push it off to the east. And I wanted to just give an example rather than showing precipitable water every day. Just here's an example for Tuesday. You can see precipitable water's values basically above 1.6, approaching 2. So very soupy. By Wednesday, the little trough, the little weakness has become a little bit of a trough over Georgia and the western Carolinas. But and that might cause a bit of an uptick, and the GFS suggests in the MOS guidance that we might see higher probability and a little bit better coverage of showers on Wednesday, and that's certainly a good possibility. That moves off as the ridge to our west both bulges northward and begins to exert its influence to the east. And again, by Friday, we still see that as it bulges northward and basically the ridge axis over the Mississippi River Valley. But we also note the cloudiness over the Yucatan, and at the surface, the GFS is once again trying to produce a bit of a tropical disturbance. Now we go out to Saturday, and you see that reflection of that disturbance over the western Gulf, and indeed, the GFS is basically producing something over the western Gulf. The problem is, just like we saw yesterday, it's the only one doing that. There's the European, and yes, the European has some showers over the western Gulf, but there's certainly no hint at any kind of closed system, and the Canadian is much the same, nothing. So the GFS remains an outlier. We'll see, but unfortunately that does kind of contaminate it for the future. There's a week from today, and you can see that reflection of the tropical system in the vicinity of Houston. I'm sure they don't want to see that at all. And the ridge basically over the eastern part of the country. Now, looking out into Voodoo country, the GFS is very hopeful here, or I'm very hopeful that the GFS is right. I don't expect it to happen, but look at the troughiness that GFS is developing over the central U.S. by Wednesday, the 20th of June. And then by the end of the period, around the 24th, the GFS is keeping a broad trough over the eastern part of the country. As I said in the discussion, I'm hopeful that this is true, because that would certainly lower the heat values quite a bit over the eastern part of the country. Speaking of heat values, here are the maximum temperature values expected over the U.S. on Friday, so you can see it's quite warm. That'll do it for the Weather Extreme video for this edition. James Spann should be back in the saddle with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, enjoy the day. Respect those thunderstorms. We did record a 5th fatality in the U.S. yesterday, a man working in his yard in Arkansas. Have a great day. Godspeed.
Summer's just around the corner, and KS Services wants to be the team ensuring your comfort. We repair and install all makes and models, so give us a call today to get a free, no-hassle second opinion.
KS Heating and Air, the team ensuring your comfort.